take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? You and me, God damn it! My life has value! It's time to ask yourself what you believe.
Mass murder, torture, perjury, embezzlement, fraud, deception, treason. These are just a few of your many crimes against humanity. You will not win this war, for you are fighting the very essence of humanity.
Hi, welcome to Truth or Talk. I'm April Bowden.
And I'm Virstyne Henry.
Please visit our website, truthertease.com, or store at shop.truthertease.com. Find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever we're going to be doing our show.
Like us on Facebook. We always forget to tell people to like our page.
Yeah, like us on Facebook because, you know, we have a Facebook page and we post a lot of stuff. We let people know when our shows are up and who we're interviewing and all that cool stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and we just, basically, too, we want to know who's out there listening. Who's, who we're reaching and if we're getting information across. Also, if there's somebody that you want us to interview, we'll try and track them down for you.
Yeah.
Get them on. Yeah.
Yeah, we love that. We love when we find new people and we're like, oh man, because there's so many people out there doing interesting things, and we don't know who everybody is. We don't just automatically haven't heard of everyone. So whenever I get a tip from someone, it's always pretty nice. So
yeah.
Kind of interesting. And speaking of that, we have a Conspiracy Realist T-shirt on our website, shop.truthertease.com, and Alex Jones was posting the image on his page the other day.
Oh, we were stoked about that, yeah. So
did you see that? Yeah.
Yes.
But you know what? The thing is that I was trying to say, please, this is a T-shirt. But actually, this is actually a T-shirt. But it was cool though that he liked it. He posted that because he was talking about that Dorner thing, that guy who was supposedly burned in the woods, that rogue LAPD, and he was just saying, he was using the conspiracy realist that we got from our friend Liam, who gave us the idea, or that's what Liam calls himself, the conspiracy realist.
Yeah.
So we got that idea, or Virstyne did, and she put that into this really cute shirt, and we have them available at our store. And then Alex Jones, he took that image and he was posting it.
He's like, bam!
It's true. So I hope that he contacts us and wants to,
sell it,
sell our shirt, whatever. Just
plus it's cool because I think that
AJ.
Because yes, send in love. But no, I think it's cool because in this age now with, I guess, the truth movement, quote unquote, or, a lot of people are waking up and, people start to question things and they're called a conspiracy theorist, and it's used as a pejorative or like a slur, to degrade people, it's very dismissive,
Yeah.
And, I think that's just nice to find comfort in people that, that question things and don't judge you for that. And I think conspiracy realist just kind of like takes the term back a little bit, gives people empowerment.
Yeah.
As opposed to disempowering them. So it's cool. It's cute, and we have men and women's fitted sizes.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of the truther-esque T-shirts too. They're very they cater a lot toward men. I've never really seen a lot of cute female fitted sizes. I haven't really yet. So
yeah, so we have these really cute female fitted sizes, and if you go to the Health Freedom Expo, you'll see me and Virstyne wearing them.
Yes,
because we're going to wear. I don't know if
that's our uniform.
Yeah, right. I don't know if I can. I don't know how many days I'm going to be able to go, just because I always have to. That depends on babysitter and all that. It's a 3-day event, and starting in March. And
the one in Long Beach. Sorry,
the one in Long Beach. Yeah, the one in
the March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Yeah, and so we're going to be there. We don't have a booth or anything. We're just going to be walking around wearing our uniform, unless it gets like too funky and rank on day one, and then I might have to
Just get some Febreze. You can work it out. Get some.
Oh, I'll just work it out. Just get some Febreze.
I know. We're probably going to be wearing the same shirt for 3 days, and
yeah.
You know, we'll have to like put some in our bags, right?
Well, yeah. I'm just going to have them. I'll have them on hand, and if someone wants to buy one, they can, and if they have, you know, and so yeah. I mean, and I'll honor the free book offer too. So I'll even have some of Liam's books. So if you buy 3 shirts, you get a free book. So if you know anybody's interested in that, but he'll be there too, so you can also buy those straight from him if you'd rather. And he just put out an announcement that his book is also, the official stories is going to be available on Kindle.
Yes, finally.
Yeah.
My brother will finally read it now because I tried to give him a copy of Liam's hardcover book. He's like, is it on Kindle? Is it on in an electronic version? I was like, oh, God. You know,
he's electronic. He doesn't read Kindle.
You know, he's just very busy, and I think it's just more convenient for him. He does read books. He reads a lot. So, but now I guess, I mean, me personally, you know, I love books. I love the smell of books. I love the weight of books. And it's really weird. I have to read some stuff on the internet and computer, but I really try to avoid doing that. I don't know. I like books more. And but for a lot of people, it's, you know, electronic books are becoming more of a reality. And in you know, bookstores are, since I've been back from Taiwan, like 2 of my favorite bookstores closed.
Oh, which one?
One of the Barnes & Noble is the Westside Pavilion, and the Bodhi Tree. Do you know the Bodhi Tree? Oh, it was amazing. It was like a bookstore that sold books on like spirituality, metaphysics, science. It was great, like alternative. It was beautiful. I was devastated.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, and I guess they've been around for like years and years and years. You know, this is old people. They finally sold it, and it was in a kind of a ritzier part of Los Angeles, like Melrose. It's on Melrose in West Hollywood. So I'm assuming the real estate probably was really high, and yeah, so that was really sad. It was a sad day when I found out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, that is sad. It has been sad that we've seen that happen. I mean, the whole bookstore thing. Because we kind of knew that was happening. I remember years ago someone saying that books were going to go the way of the computer. And I thought, at the time, ew, because computers are big and they're not like, you can't sit on your couch and be all cozy with a computer really, but then when they came up with the Kindles and the iPads and things, they're smaller and you can actually kind of do that. So it does seem that is replacing the book. But I like you, I like hardcover books. I really don't want to read on it. I didn't even know until I honestly wasn't even sure what a Kindle was until Liam made the announcement, and I'm like, what exactly is a Kindle? Like, you know, he was all, I go, it's like when you read it on an iPad, right? It's like when you kind of look at it, he's all, yeah. So anyway, so Liam's book's now available on Kindle, so we
What do you think about that? I just, you know, as far as like, because my friend and I got into an argument because we were talking about after I found out about the Bodhi tree, and I was really upset. It was embarrassing how upset I was. I was really devastated, and he was just like, well, you know, that's just the future. That's just how things are going because books are going to be extinct. So, what do you mean books are going to be extinct? What do you mean? And he was just like, well, you know, it is good because they save paper and you don't cut down trees and stuff like that. And I was like, well, and, you know, you can carry more books at a time, which are really good points. But at the same time, you think about being in front of the computer all the time isn't really that healthy. And
right.
You know, what trade-off for the environment really does, you know, especially if you can recycle paper. I mean, I don't know. I have to do research. I don't really know which one is actually better because you're finding out plasma TVs are electronic, and because of EMFs and all these things aren't good for the environment either.
No, and these pieces, these big chunks of battery and these electronics and these things, those are really hard on the environment. They're actually much worse. At least paper is biodegradable. And then, I mean, yeah, you're cutting down trees, but as we've talked before about, you know, there's alternatives to using trees, folks. You can use hemp. You can use corn. You can use soy. You can use all kinds of things to create paper. It doesn't have to just be trees. You don't have to go in and, you know, kill 100-year-old old-growth tree. I mean, it's like, come on, folks, get with it.
Yeah. But also too, because you think about cloud technology and how it's very, it's cool on one aspect, but it's also a little creepy too, because in the future, somebody can just erase all this knowledge. If everybody were just dependent on that, there were no physical books. It's almost, you people can create kind of like an electronic book burning, I would say. If they just wanted to erase, if we had all of our books stored on the computer in the cloud technology or whatever, and they wanted people to not have access to certain information or take that information away from them, for future generations, they can just erase stuff at the click of a button.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, that's a good point. And I don't know. I mean, I just don't like it personally. Like, I don't like reading on computers and stuff like that.
I try not to, but I have to.
Right. Sometimes you have to, like when you have, when you get an advance, like when Liam sent me an advanced reading of it, sent us an advanced reading of his book. It's like you have to because he doesn't have it on print yet, and you don't want it on print because then people can steal it because it hasn't been published yet. But if you have, so in some cases I understand that it's necessary, but I just don't like reading on a computer. I find it uncomfortable. And plus, the more that we're learning about the health exposures to EMS, I mean, sitting in front of a computer for long periods of time to me seems like a bad idea. Yeah. I mean, you've got to, obviously we have to some extent, but if you can limit how much time you're in front of the computer, I think that then you're better off because, and
that means smartphones and tablets too, not just like the computer. Just it's the light, the radiation.
Anything that has electricity emits EMS. We're going to talk to Anna Victoria Rogers today, and she mentions the health effects of that in her book. And I think there's more. There's so many aspects. There's so many layers to what EMS do and how they affect your body and things like that. I think we also talked a little bit when we talked to Christopher Key, because he mentioned that as well. So it's starting to become more common that people are knowing, at least in our movement, alternative health and stuff like that. They're understanding. But I'm not crazy about all this Wi-Fi stuff. I hope that we can, that there's some kind of moderation that we can come up and still be able to use these things without having to just, go into the woods in order to just survive, because that's how bad the health effects these things are having on people. So I don't like the idea of books on electronic books, actually. But for me personally, and I'm sad that books are, but I know that a lot of people do, and I think that that's, it's great. And in some ways, electronic books are cool. They tend to be cheaper.
Yeah.
You can get them, and you
can get them right away.
Yeah. Get them right away. Like your brother was saying, how he wants to be able to just, that's pretty amazing too. Like it's almost magic,
Yeah.
Like you give somebody your credit card and then next thing you know, you got a book on your computer. It's like, wow. So Poof, Liam.
Music too, yeah. But yeah.
Book Official Stories is on Kindle and available in print, so you can get those either way. We have some print copies that we're selling or giving away if you buy a T-shirt, but the Kindle is a new thing that he's got going now. So we're proud of him. He's done really well with this book. It's a great book.
It is.
Yeah.
Sorry, it took me so long to respond, but it's a great book. It's and we're not saying that because we know him. He knows he's our friend. It's well written. It has a lot of really good research behind it, but it's also very funny. It was an easy read for me.
It's a great book. It's really funny, and he does go through the research really well, and he touches on a lot of things. And I think the way I look at it when I was reading it is I felt that this was a relearning of history. I was kind of going, because he touches on a lot of things that I learned about in school, the Vietnam War and, the JFK assassination and things. And you're learning things, you're going, I didn't know that. I didn't understand those things happen. So
yeah, definitely.
He does a really good job of, and actually, it's funny that we're talking about this because Anna Victoria Rogers, actually met her through Liam. She wrote a review of his book and on her website, Miss EcoGlam, and I made a comment, and that's how I met her. So,
wow.
Tie-in.
Wow. People cross paths for a reason, It's very interesting.
So, Anna wrote a book, and that's gonna be out later this year, and so we're gonna talk to her about it. So I think we're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we'll be talking to Anna Victoria Rogers, Miss Eagle Glam.
All right. We'll see when we get back.
Yes, hello. I wanted to say that I love the conspiracy realist t-shirts that you can get only online at shipthetruthoftears.com. I knew a conspiracy when I saw it. America is run by the CIA. Yes, the CIA. That's why you have to wear a conspiracy realist t-shirt all the time to let people know that you are not stupid. Go to ship.truthoftears.com. Ship.truthoftears.com. Ship. Like to go shopping when you buy things at the grocery store. Truthoftears.com.
Hi, welcome back to Truth or Talk. Today's show, we're talking to Anna Victoria Rogers, or Miss Eagle Glam. Miss Eagle Glam is a website run by Anna that offers a bounty of information on how to live healthy in a toxic world. She's the author of a new book, a great book, Toxic World, Toxic People, A Guide to Health, Beauty, Parenting, and Conscious Living. Please welcome to the show, Anna Victoria Rogers. Anna, hi.
Hi,
Anna. Hi, Anna. How are you?
Really well. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to all of your listeners.
Well, it's our pleasure because, Anna, I've known you on Facebook for a while now, and you're such a lovely person, and so it's nice to finally talk to you and get get a better idea of who you are. And so I think you're just a lovely person, and I really enjoy reading your website and your book, this new book, which is just loaded with information. So first, let's talk about your book, or well, actually, let's first talk about yourself. So, how did you start doing this, and how did you? What was your own personal situation that led you to start researching this stuff and begin to heal yourself? And what was that like? How did you start detoxing and all of that?
Well, it's been a very long road to recovery because I was sick for a very, very long time. Even as a young girl, I knew something wasn't right with the way I felt sort of physically and mentally. I had severe mental problems and would just suffer on a daily basis with depression and really strange thoughts for someone so young. I was very suicidal and constantly crying, and it was just really not in a good way. And yeah, I think just through the years, and I had a father who was a doctor, and, he was a very caring doctor, but he's very old school. So he didn't really know anything about detoxing. He didn't actually even think anything was wrong with me. He thought I was just a little brat that couldn't behave herself, basically, and just was a pain in the butt. And I think it's only now that he perhaps sort of realizes that I was quite ill. But, when you have chronic fatigue symptoms, many doctors don't even think that's a real condition. So
they think it's in your head, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're a woman, I find.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I tried a lot of medications and antidepressants and things like that, but it never made me better, surprise. And the most, painful times in my life when I was really, really, really mentally unstable was when I was on antidepressants. So now with all the information I've read that they can trigger off, suicides and even people to kill their family, I can so see why that happens now, because it just doesn't help your mental state in most cases. Some people swear that they do, but I think the statistics are very small and they're more harmful. So yeah, through the years I tried heaps of pharmaceutical stuff and I just didn't get any better. And yeah, I think it's only really been in the last sort of 5 years that I really started to, go down the path of starting to heal and seeing big changes and just, learning lots of new things. My whole world kind of opened up in so many ways. And it's only really in the last year that things have really changed dramatically for me.
And so what were some of the first things that you were starting to try that you were thinking that were kind of helping you after you went? What was the final straw that you said, okay, I'm getting off this pharmaceutical train and I'm going to start something else?
Well, I had my last vaccine in 2004, I think. Yeah, it was the flu shot. And I got the worst flu ever. And I said to my husband, I said, I'm never having any more of those ever again. And back then I didn't quite understand how toxic they were because, again, my dad used to give them to us. And for a long time I kind of trusted what he was doing and really, believed the whole kind of medical world. But it was really coming over here to the UK from Australia where I met a lady who owned a magazine and she wanted me to blog for her just doing beauty reviews. She actually made the name Miss Ecogram up for me. And then I started my own blog and, went down this sort of path of just experimenting with things and just meeting a lot of people who were experts, and that also helped me to try different therapies for myself. But I actually came over here from Australia still on antidepressants. I didn't want to be on them, but I couldn't get off them. And it was hell, to put it bluntly. It was really difficult to wean myself off them. I used to take a tiny little scrape of a pill, and you'd think that that little amount wouldn't do anything. But if I stopped that little amount, the withdrawals and the side effects and the horrible feelings I'd have would just really kick in. And yeah, that was when I just went, this stuff's supposed to help us. Why is it so addictive? And why is it making me feel the worst I've ever felt when I'm coming off it? So that was pretty much when I went, that's it, no more. I don't want to take any of this stuff. Once I'm off it, that's it. And I'm not going to go back to anything like this ever again.
I heard that you use zeolites. All right, and I heard that they're really good for eliminating toxins out the body. So could you tell our audience a little bit about zeolites and how they work and your experience with them?
Yes, sure. There's a lot of information on the internet about zeolite because zeolite itself is quite easy to get hold of. It's basically a white sort of powder that's been manufactured, and inside that powder is a crystal called clinotoctylite. And zeolites, I think there's so many different types of zeolites, but this clinotoctylite is the one that they use to pull out heavy metals, and it basically acts like a magnet in the body. And depending on the way it's been processed by the manufacturer, it can be that small, like the particle size can be that small, it can travel to different parts in the body. Now, the problem with zeolites is there's so many different brands out there on the market, but not many of them have the science behind the way they've been processed. So there's quite a few out there that are actually quite toxic because the zeolite itself comes from volcanic ash, and inside all those little particles is other heavy metals because that's all in the ground, all the minerals. So a lot of people are taking the zeolite thinking that it's going to help with their toxicity, but it actually adds more first and then will struggle to get as much out as what you think. So you have to really research the ones that are good. And the two that I've come across, which I think are brilliant, the first one that I ever tried was a brand called Waiora, and they have one called Natural Cellular Defense. And after 2 weeks of me taking that, I had these huge results that I'd never really had from anything else. I became a lot more focused and clear-minded because my sort of mental state and brain fog used to be that bad. I would start speaking a sentence and literally halfway through I'd go, oh, well, what was I talking about again? And it was really bad because it would happen on a daily basis. And I'd come upstairs from downstairs trying to think of what I was going up there to look for, and I'd be like, oh, God, why did I come up there? I can't remember. So I had the mental capacity of someone who was probably Alzheimer's and losing their mind. It was awful. And, yeah, within 2 weeks, my brain fog completely lifted. The very heavy sort of feeling I had in my legs that I'd had for years disappeared. And the main thing that I didn't really notice, but my husband certainly did, and I kind of write about this in my book, is that apparently I used to smell really bad, off milk, apparently, because my husband and I were speaking to someone about the zeolites, and he piped up and said, I know that they work because Anna used to smell really bad and she doesn't anymore. And I looked at him and I was like, what?
He must have loved you. Like, I mean, you stunk and he stuck by you anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, strange boy. But,
that's so love.
Yeah. But now that I know just how toxic I was, looking back, I made all these connections to why I got so toxic. It does make sense that, you know, if you've got all this junk floating around in your body, it's not going to make you smell good. But yeah, apparently within 2 weeks, that smell went away. So I get more hugs now.
And I do Bikram yoga, and I notice there's this guy sometimes that stands next to me, and he smells really bad. And I think it's because of him detoxing, like, stuff out of his body, because it's something like, it's not like a pheromone-ish odor, it's something like, I can tell something is wrong with him.
Yeah, that's right.
Something is off with him, like he smells really, really bad, like something I don't know. So that's interesting that you brought that up, because I've been thinking about that lately, too, sorry.
And it's really interesting. Just yesterday I met with this incredible lady who I want to talk to you about her technique. She treats a lot of kids with autism, and she's developed this technique called the Stockton technique. Her name is Linda Stotzman, I think. She's got a clinic over here in the UK, and she uses hyperbaric chambers, and she's also developed this technique for helping kids breathe better, because she was saying that a lot of people with like brain injuries don't breathe very well. And it was really fascinating speaking to her, because she saw me and she said, look, I know you're a lot better than what you were, but I can still tell by looking at the way your posture is that you're not breathing properly. And that's, you know, that really made me sit up, because of, I think, growing up very stressed, I didn't really ever learn to breathe properly. And even though I'm so much better now, because I don't naturally breathe deeply, I still feel quite tired at times. And it was interesting because she was saying when you don't breathe properly, you're not only not taking in enough oxygen, but you're not actually breathing out as much carbon dioxide properly, which means that the body is very acidic on the inside and that the toxins don't come out the way they should. So yeah, it's really fascinating how it's all sort of, you know, toxicity is connected to every part of the body, basically. It's such a huge problem, and when I was researching for my book, I just, you know, each page that I turned just made me go, oh my God, it's such a huge problem that people just don't really get it. And even people who eat really healthy food, you know, might have a completely organic diet, they still are getting a lot of toxins into their body simply because of what we're breathing in from, you know, walking outside or even living in our homes. So, yeah, it's a huge problem.
Did you ever have amalgam fillings? And did you ever have
No, luckily enough I didn't.
Okay.
Because I think, you know what, if I had feelings like that, oh my God, like I can't imagine being worse than what I already was, because, you know, I wasn't sort of a crazy person in the street who could who would sort of harm any others, but certainly in my relationships with people close to me, in particular boyfriends, if we had a fight, quite often it would really lead to me lashing out, crying, screaming. I was never really violent, but I certainly had a lot of anger brewing up inside of me. And, you know, now that that's gone, it's pretty incredible knowing exactly what toxins do to the brain and the way that people behave with their anger.
It sounds like almost an exorcism, you know, you're getting rid of demons because...
Well, it's funny that you said an exorcism, because years ago I was so sick and so unsure of which direction to turn that I watched a show that was about exorcisms, and I said to my husband, oh my God, I've got the devil in me or something. So I basically found someone in the UK that does exorcisms and went and had one done, but yeah, it was hilarious because I watched I'd watched all these shows and I was really aware of what everyone does when they have these exorcisms, and I was smart enough to know if I didn't go along with what he was doing, then he's going to think, like, he's just going to keep pushing me. So I pretended that I had the devil inside me.
Oh, man. That's
yeah. But it's funny, when you're so unwell and so lost, you'll try anything, and I pretty much did. But yeah, getting back to the zeolites, they really are amazing, and it's something that I recommend that people take, regularly, because every day, we're building up more toxicity.
Yeah. It's good too that you're bringing up like the personality and hormonal changes and things like that, and the feelings that you had, because I also think when people think about toxicity, they just think about it leading to cancer or some disease.
Yes.
They don't think about how it affects their emotional state.
Yeah. Yep. And again, when I was researching stuff for my book, because I always thought, these criminals that end up in jail, obviously there's going to be an element of the way they've been brought up with their environment as a child. But I bet if the criminals in jail were tested for mercury and other toxins, they would come up pretty high with some bad stuff.
Sugar. Even as a teacher, like I was talking to one of my friends the other day who's also a teacher, and we were talking about like how after recess and after lunchtime, the kids are like crazier.
Yeah.
Because of like what they eat,
And I noticed that myself too when I was really unwell. If I had, chocolate cake or something really sugary, and even now, because I do eat healthy most of the time, but if I do have something a little bit naughty now and then, I notice that I get very snappy, and it reminds me of how I was, and I just go, oh my goodness, to come from being like that all the time, and that it was, very rare for me to be in a good mood, to now the opposite, I think is truly amazing, because I think people, when they have a certain like mental state, and if it's a problem, they don't really think they can ever get better, because I don't think doctors really tell anyone that you can get better, that you can become quite stable. I know I was certainly told by many people, so you're going to have to deal with this for the rest of your life, and all that we can do is give you some kind of medication to help with the mood swings and this and that. And no, it's if you take the right things and you know what to do, it's quite remarkable that the brain can not only become sort of healthy, but better than it ever was.
Wow. So Anna, when we're talking about the toxins and the things that we live in, I think a lot of people don't realize how prevalent they are. And one of the things I liked in your book was that you talked about all the different ways that we can get toxins. And you mentioned you have a chapter called "Are You Dying to Be Beautiful?"
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the dangers in cosmetics and what safe alternatives there are and things like that.
Well, this subject was the first kind of topic I looked into, because I used to be a beauty therapist, which I think in the States you call it cosmetician.
Esthetician? Is it esthetician? Just skin?
Yeah, so I used to do like facials and massage and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I did a course for a couple of days, and it was by Aveda, who was sort of pioneers for natural skincare, although ironically now the products aren't as natural as what you think, but I think back then they were. And we were taught about what was in most products, and I just couldn't believe it. I went home that night, had a look at all the stuff on the back of the things that I bought, which were all mainstream, like L'Oreal and Maybelline and all the popular things like that. And I couldn't believe what was written on it. And yeah, it just started me thinking, just how serious it is with what we put in our skin. And yeah, it's really quite a serious problem, because if you use, shampoo, conditioner and soap and, just the usual things, you can add about 250 different chemicals to your body every day. Wow. And they might only be minute amounts, but over time, these things do add up, because if the body itself is not healthy, it's not able to detox properly because the systems won't be working efficiently, then it's going to build up and trigger off, heaps of different types of illnesses, one, of course, that we do worry about is cancer. But yeah, so many chemicals are directly linked to cancer. And, people don't quite understand how serious this problem is because they think, oh, surely if they were that serious, they wouldn't be allowed to be sold. But the beauty industry is not really regulated by any kind of FDA rules, so to speak, or laws. So pretty much companies can make whatever they want and market it as natural, even if it's not. And people believe the ads and they go and buy it and use it, and because they might not have any reactions to it, they think, oh, well, it makes my skin feel good. It smells nice. There can't be, any problems with it. Mm. And it's only, when they're sort of 60 and get diagnosed with cancer, that some people might think, oh, what could have triggered it, and then they perhaps discover. But it's a huge problem because, not only are we going to worry about our own health, but children. It's a big problem for children because even from, when they're born in the hospitals, I don't know if it's the same in the States, but over here we get given these free packs with nappies and baby wipes and creams and stuff. All of it is just cheap and nasty, toxic stuff. Yeah. So there's so many different alternatives out there. It can be quite confusing if people want to start, sorting out what they're going to use on their skin. I think it's best to keep it simple as well because you can get, overboard with different products. You can check my website out to read some reviews because I've reviewed a lot of products that are sold all over the world. But it's best to source organic products. And it's best to have a look at products that actually state on the back of it how much of the product is organic. So if you've got something that's like 80% organic, then that's pretty good. There's certain labelling laws that you can sort of look at in the back of a bottle that can help. Different stores as well will have a selection of products. Do you have Planet Organic over there?
I think we do. Yeah, I think I've heard of that. Planet Organic.
I've never heard of that. I know we have the Body Shop.
Well, the Body Shop is funny. A lot of people think Body Shop is good. I think it was reasonably good in the beginning when Anita Roddick started it up. But now the products are full of sodium sulfates and there's heaps of nasty ingredients in it. They're pretty good with fair trade, but with the chemical content, they're still not very good. And now they're owned by L'Oreal as well. So, it's crazy. She, I think Anita died of hepatitis B or C or something, so people actually think that it affected her mind, and that's why she sold it to L'Oreal, because she wasn't really in her right mind. It's nuts, because she's so against animal testing. L'Oreal tests on animals.
I was a Body Shopaholic when it first came out. I love the Body Shop.
They had some really, really great makeup products, and I used to love it as well. And it smells so good too.
Yeah, they do. Is Planet Organic like the Body Shop?
Planet Organic is like a Whole Foods, but better quality. As we know, Whole Foods sell GMO stuff. But I think Planet Organic are a bit more strict. But people, if they want to just source stuff that's really good, I think it's best to try and find a website that you trust and educate, or even buy a book. Maybe my book.
Diana's book, of course.
Yes, of course.
That can sort of educate you what to look for. There's a lot of ingredients that are listed on the back that sound like science experiments, and words like that usually give you an indication that there's some nasty stuff in there. But in saying that, there's also some very scientific-sounding words for natural ingredients that can be really confusing, because you might think, oh, that chemical, that sounds bad, but it's actually not a chemical. It's just a long term for vitamin E or something.
Right.
Yeah. Because I know that there was a rule I've heard that if you can't pronounce it, then it's not good for you. You know, have you heard that rule? But I guess you're saying that's not all necessarily true.
Well, sometimes it is, but I'd say most of the time it is, but in some instances it's not. I mean, off the top of my head, there's a good brand called Lavera, which is sold all over the world. It's a German product. It's not very expensive. I know they've got a beautiful website in the States, and they have hundreds of different products from, you know, stuff for your hair, for babies, for men, makeup. I find people are quite happy with that. Or for makeup, I love Jane Iredale, which is another American company. List is endless, really.
Okay.
The beauty part is what I first sort of got into. And, you know, I find now a lot of women are very smart with not using any toxic products. But again, you know, I try and stress to them, unless you're actively doing something to regularly detox your body, and I don't necessarily mean going and doing juice fasts and things like that all the time, but this is why I love the zeolite, because it works sort of, if you take it every day, it keeps the minimal level of toxins in your body, so, you know, you're going to keep on top of them rather than building up and up and up.
That's really smart, yeah, because you really have to detox. If you're going to detox, you have to not just be doing a chelation protocol or, like you say, like a juicing. You have to actually be actively taking the things out of your life, out of your environment. And you also have a chapter about the things that are in your home. So what about some of the toxins that are just prevalent in our houses and our apartments and things like that? How do we get rid of those?
Well, there's so many. There's a statistic, I think. You know, we think that outside is horrible, especially if you live in a city, but the statistics show that inside our homes is actually more toxic than outside, which is really, really scary. And it's from things like carpet, so you get the chemicals that are in the carpet fibres, and then the carpet's usually sprayed with like, I don't know what you call it over there, but we call it like Scotchgard. It's like the spray that puts a coating on it, so that, you know, if you spill coffee or wine or something, it won't stain so much. But that protectant is incredibly toxic. And you have obviously the glue underneath the carpet, so that will off-gas. And off-gassing is something that's happening all the time in our homes. And, because there's laws with how our furniture is produced. Usually you have to have stuff sprayed with flame retardant. What else is stuff that comes off the paint as well. And even if you had, you know, your house painted years ago, it can still be off-gassing a long time later. You know, people are probably going to be listening to this interview are going to be freaking out after they hear everything. But, you know, it's better that you know so you can do things about it. And what I suggest, which I think is quite an easy way of, you know, trying to keep on top of this, is obviously if you build your own home, it's best to, you know, source natural fibres on the floor and eco paint. But like we just moved recently into a very small house, and we're renting it, and we've got brand new carpet, brand new paint. And as soon as I came in here, it smelled so bad, but we had no choice but to rent it. So what I've had to do is just buy a whole bunch of what they call healthy air plants that have been shown to absorb different toxins. So we've got about 20 plants in our house. It looks a bit like a jungle, because that's going to absorb, you know, quite a bit of the toxins rather than us absorbing them. So that's probably the easiest way and least expensive way.
Yeah, that's really smart. I was thinking about that, too, because some of the air filters, the particles are too small. The air filters don't pick those up.
Yes.
And so plants actually absorb more.
Yes.
And there was a study, I think, by NASA. They had like an eco-dome where they found that they were pulling out something like 90% of toxins in the air.
And it's amazing. You can tell, plants actually love the toxins because they look really healthy. You know, if obviously you've got to look after them and water them in the right way and put them in the right area of the home. But our plants look really happy. So even though I don't like the toxins, they're loving them.
Do they, if they're edible plants, are they still edible? Do they convert the toxins into something safe for us to eat? Or
I've never thought of that. That's really interesting. I don't know. I'd have to maybe read the NASA study in depth.
Okay. They also just did this thing with mushrooms. There's a TED Talk you can go see. It's like 6 ways mushrooms save the world, and they found out too that mushrooms can absorb radiation in oil. But when yes, it's crazy. And then when they absorb it, though, they actually convert it into something safe, so it doesn't even harbor the chemicals after they absorb it. It's very, very interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So, also you're saying that there are all these toxins in the environment, in our makeup, in our home. I think I heard you say, because I watched another interview of yours, there was somewhere around the figure of like 70,000 known toxins in the environment. And, like you said, people are probably freaking out. It's probably really overwhelming for some people. So you mentioned a couple of things like the plants, adding plants to your house. Are there any other simple things that people can start doing right now? In addition to the eco paints and anything else, too.
I mean, keep your windows open a lot. Air the house out as much as possible. I mean, I do that now, even though England's really cold at certain times of the year. If my husband takes my daughter out for a walk, I'll just quickly get up and open, the house up so that there's outside air coming in just to kind of, try and take some of them out. I mean, you can use, air filters, but they can be really expensive. And as April said, they don't, work on all of the particle sizes. But again, this is where the zeolite comes in because, if you take that regularly, it's going to help to keep, as many toxins out as possible. I mean, there's other things you can take that chelate stuff. I mean, obviously in your diet you can have cilantro and things like lemon. But, yeah, for at home, I think the 3 things we do is we air it out, have lots of plants, and take the zeolite. Yeah, do my 3 main easy things to do.
Okay. And go on. April, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, in your book, in part 2 of your book, you start talking about how depression affects your health, and one thing I'd like to just point out about your book is that it's very detailed. You talk about all aspects of how we're being affected by our environment, and including like spiritually and emotionally, which I thought it makes your book very unique. And so anyway, I just wanted you to talk a little bit about the spiritual approach and how that's changed your life and how that affects our health.
Well, I think a lot of people have deep-seated kind of feelings of unhappiness, really. I mean, most of us can look back to our childhoods and sort of say, yeah, things weren't right. If I could go back, I wish that, Mum and Dad could have said nice things to me, or I had, better friendships at school. I mean, I know I look back and it's very painful to see the little girl that I was and all of the hurt that I was feeling. And especially if you grow up with low self-esteem, you don't really know what your purpose is. And even as an adult, many people feel like this. And it can really make you question, why are we here? And, I don't understand why I'm here and what I'm supposed to do. And I think, getting in touch with, what they call your intuition or your soul is very important, because if you can really focus on what you truly believe, then that can make you a lot happier in life too. I mean, I'll be honest, I still haven't become this person that meditates all the time. It's something I always keep thinking, I'm going to do it soon. But, my way of, I guess, feeling like I've got a purpose is trying to help others with, my experience, and that kind of makes me feel like I am getting in touch with my spiritual side, because I do feel like now all of the troublesome times that I went through with my illness and being so unhappy is exactly why I went through it, so that I can try and help others to overcome what they're going through. But yeah, I think, to have a happy, healthy life, there's so many different aspects to it. It's always something I think about every day. There's something new that comes up where you think, oh, wow, that too can really impact how someone is.
Yeah. And another thing you mentioned in the book, you started talking about sun exposure. Now, I'm very fair, and I think you are too, and fair-skinned, and so I burn really easily. So when I was growing up, I was always told that sun exposure was bad for you. Yeah, and now as I'm getting older, I'm realizing how wrong that is. Like, for example, just yesterday, I mean, I've had this really bad cold, and just yesterday, me and the kids went on a nature hike, and I was out in the sun, and right away I could feel myself getting better. Mm-hmm. I could feel it, like, clearing my sinuses and things like that. Yep. So how have we been lied to about sun exposure? You talk about it in your book. Tell our audience a little bit about that and how sun actually is good for you.
Well, I want to sort of start out to say that burning is never good. So people have to understand that we're not saying go out and get burned. And you do have to be smart about the exposure, and you have to kind of get to know your skin to see how much it can handle. But years and years ago, you know, doctors were sending people to clinics that were purely for them to get sun exposure, so that their different ailments would disappear, and it was very effective. I personally think that, you know, the reason why most people don't think the sun is healthy is because of the conditioning that we've had from our doctors and from the sunscreen industry, which, you know, that's worth billions and billions each year from all the toxic sunblocks that are being sold. You know, but if you look at the studies, apparently there's been no studies that have ever proven that the sun causes skin cancer, which when even I was doing some research, I couldn't believe that at first. I was like, what? That can't be true. Right. But yeah, there's no proper studies that show. If anything, the studies are showing that people that are staying inside and not really exposing themselves to the sun at all, or they're wearing lots of sunblocks, now they're the ones that are developing skin cancers.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So probably sun tanning lotions too, right? Like that stuff. That can't be good for you. I don't see how it can be good for you either.
And, you know, when I was looking at the toxins in sunblocks, there's some scary stuff in there. I mean, the vitamin A that they're using in most sunblocks should not be in there, because that definitely triggers off cancer. Oh. And, you know, sunblocks, it's like a toxic soup that you just slap on, and it's not just on a little bit of skin. You know, if you're going out being on a beach, you're going to put it pretty much everywhere except for your scalp. So, you know, 90% of the body is going to be covered up with this very toxic stuff. And, you know, a lot of people don't know that whatever you put on your skin gets absorbed by up to 60% through the skin.
Yeah, and, you know, people forget that the skin is our largest organ, too. Yeah. You know, they don't think of the skin, so it's very, very important. You know, I would like to know more about EMFs, and so tell us what they are, where they come from, how they're affecting our health, you know, anything. Like, you can give us.
This is another thing where so many people are undivided because they don't know, or they say that they're harmful and then they say that they don't. Because of all the conflicting studies that are coming out. But the doctor that I've been seeing lots of over the last sort of 5 years, he's a biochemist and a scientist, and also looks after the Russian astronaut team. And, don't know if you can hear my baby crying in the background.
Yeah.
I've been asking her, probably not liking it. Yeah, he said they're very, very, very dangerous. And, you know, it's probably directly causing, you know, tumors in many people and children as well. And basically, you know, everything that's electrical gives off some kind of a charge, and some things are worse than others. What they're mostly concerned about is obviously the Wi-Fi and the new phones that are out, like the iPhones and the smartphones, are very, very strong with the EMF. Because, you know, we're electrical beings ourselves, so anything that disrupts our own electrical current is going to cause, I guess, chaos inside the body, because things are not going to be moving in the way that they should in terms of the electrical current. So, I used to, when I was very ill, I would try and do some work on the computer, and I'd go to bed at night and lie down, and it was so weird. I'd feel this energy sort of in my chest that was I felt like it was from the computer, because I'd been sitting in front of it for hours, and we've got like quite a big computer screen. That the energy from that was just causing me to feel awful. So I think, some people are very, very sensitive to them. I know people that have got family members that are that sensitive. They've had to kind of move out of the house they were living in and move somewhere that doesn't have Wi-Fi. I even had one person had their son living in a basement because he was that sick. He just could not be anywhere near any kind of electrical stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. Really
yeah,
good.
no, it's. I know it is a big problem. It's interesting because we were just talking about how we've been indoctrinated to get out of the sun, and then now we're going inside where there's all this electrical stuff. It's like you were saying before about it's more toxic in the home. That stuff usually works in the home than it is outside, and or you're more exposed to it. It's like more concentrated. The Wi-Fi that's coming off your computer, or all the cell phones in the house and things like that. And so how do we get away from that? Because it is everywhere now. I mean, there's really no avoiding it unless you live in a radio-free zone.
I know, it's so hard. And, the thing is with technology, we kind of need it. Like, I'm glad that we have the internet. I'm glad that, I can speak on a phone if I'm not at home. So, I don't think the answer is us not using all this stuff anymore. But I guess we want them to develop it in a way that's much safer. I still don't know what is 100% effective for stopping the EMF. Some people say you can stick crystals on the back of your phone or place them near your computer. I haven't really seen any scientific evidence that proves that, but in saying that, we all know that science can be a load of BS sometimes, and that there can be, sort of spiritual aspects to certain things as well, where it might not be proven, but we know that it works. Does that make sense? So the crystals could be that kind of, could work, but it's not proven, so to speak. I know there's some pendants that, again, this doctor that I see, he does support it. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a pendant that you wear around your neck that, it kind of, I guess, blocks you from absorbing these EMFs. And I know there's quite a few pendants out there on the market. This one was about $800. It was so expensive. And my doctor doesn't sell it, but I know he looked at the studies, and he was quoted on the website as saying that it is effective. Just wish I could remember the name. I use a grounding sheet. Which is what they call like an earthing sheet. So I put that on the bed, and it's a sheet that has silver thread running through it, and you literally plug it into the wall, and that apparently cuts the current out so that you're just lying on it, and I guess you're lying in, EMF-free zone, so to speak. Apparently that's been proven. The guy that wrote this book called Earthing, I think his name is Clint Ober, he did his own studies, and they came out really, really sort of effective. But I think it's pretty much an industry that needs to have a lot more regulating done. And that's the problem with all these things that, we're concerned about. There's no regulation. There's no regulation about what we have in our homes. If anything, the regulation is the opposite to what we should have, because, there's rules where you have to spray mattresses with flame retardant.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, because I think if you're unfortunate enough to be stuck in a house that's on fire, 2 seconds of whatever that spray would stop it from burning, is not really going to help you that much.
Right.
So it's just ridiculous. And
the house burned down, but the couch didn't, you know.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they used to, I think they stopped doing this, but they used to put flame retardants in children's pajamas.
That's right.
Oh, I remember that, yes.
Yeah, and it was like, I'm not going to burn my baby, so you don't have to worry about it, you know? I'm not going to set my kid on fire. So it's really weird. But I think enough people complained, so that does work, you know. Enough people complained and said, we don't want flame retardants. It's silly to put that in your child. Like you're saying, Anna, you know, I mean, that 2 seconds, if the house is going to burn down, it's going to burn down.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's going to get through that flame retardant.
But with children, I mean, they're already being born with a whole bunch of different chemicals in their bodies, and, you know, that's being proven time and time again. But unfortunately, when children are born, no one's testing those children each single time to know what they've got in their bloodstream or in you know, deep inside their body. So we may not know what's floating around in our children, and we don't know if, you know, something else will trigger something in them, because doctors just don't understand the toxicity. They only think that toxicity is a problem if, say, you know, you were in a field and someone was spraying a pesticide near you and you had, like, proper undeniable poisoning. That's when they're going to be concerned. But most of the time, it's not a problem to them. They don't think, you know, that it's a big deal at all. But from what I've been reading, and there's so many books and, you know, things coming out, the toxicity, I think, is behind most health problems.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, definitely, because, you know, it's everywhere, so it's really impossible to know, you know, at certain times where it's coming from, because it's just in so many different things, like we're talking about. So, getting back to, like, the kind of the spiritual stuff that you talk about in your book, I wanted to ask you about, because we can hear your baby in the background. I know you have a small child at home. So talk about attachment parenting, and tell our audience, you know, how that helps the baby develop. And
well, it's a theory, and it's you know, whenever there's stories printed in the papers, there's so many people that think it's absolute rubbish, and then there's so many people that say, yep, I did this, I followed this method, and my child's really dependent and, you know, very happy. The attachment theory is called that way because it's to encourage parents to kind of keep that closeness going with your children. And it's not just closeness in terms of a relationship, it's physical closeness. So instead of using a pram, you carry the baby in a baby sling or some other kind of carrier like the Ergo baby carrier. And it's also doing things like long-term breastfeeding and feeding on demand, so when the child wants it rather than, you know, fitting it to a schedule. What else? Co-sleeping, which again is another hugely debatable topic that gets very loud.
What is co-sleeping?
It's basically where you share the bed with the baby. So, you know, you have the baby in between you and the husband or the other partner, and you all sort of sleep together. And I think some people think that, you know, as parents, that you're going to have sex with the baby in between you.
Yeah.
No, I'm not cool with that. So that's not what co-sleeping means to me. But we do it. We've done it ever since we brought Lola home, and, you know, it can be tough because now she's at an age where if she's not tired, she will stand up on the bed in between us and grab the but, you know, at the same time, I personally couldn't imagine her not being in with us. You know, it's a choice. I don't think any parenting method should be said that this is, you know, the best way. So I try not to be too sort of forceful in the book. It's more like, you know, if you've got a very highly sensitive child, then this parenting technique may really help for your child to not feel, you know, fear or, you know, detached from the parents. I think the reason why it appealed to me was because I grew up feeling very unloved. I mean, I know my parents did love me. We've, you know, gone through a lot over the years and, you know, healed a lot of old wounds, but certainly I think things perhaps weren't, I wasn't very close to my parents as a child, and obviously I can't remember, but, certain things kind of make sense to me that I didn't really bond very well with my mum, perhaps. So looking into this technique really made a lot of sense to me, and it's a very primal kind of theory because, let's face it, a couple of hundred years ago, no one would put their child in another room because you'd be lucky enough to have a hut to live in.
Right.
Yeah. Or, you'd be lucky enough to have one, like, I don't know what they used to kill and use their skin for, but, it wasn't as if you had a luxury to keep your child away. And plus, it's a way of protection. We're mammals, so we have to do what animals do, and that is you stick together, you look after your offspring. So this is where the attachment theory comes into place, into, people's way of thinking that this is how we should bring our children up. Certainly a lot of, the tribes in Africa, they, always carry their babies and, they sleep with them and they breastfeed on demand. And I've heard that a lot of African babies don't actually really cry because the mother is always right there, and, because they're so close to the parent, the mother can pretty much know exactly when their child needs something, whether or not it's food or if they need to go to the toilet. It creates this bond, I guess, that you perhaps can't really get if you're doing the opposite with certain things.
Very interesting. You also talked about the school system, and I just want to know your take. I'm a teacher. my opinions about the school system, definitely. So I want to know why do you think it shouldn't be the way that it is, basically?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say you have a huge job, with being a teacher. I think that you guys don't get nearly enough support. I can't imagine how I think it would be literally the hardest job in the world. And it's the most important job in the world, too. But I guess in a lot of ways...
Next to being a parent, I would say.
Yeah.
Parents first and then teachers second.
Yeah. It's not like you can have a free reign, so to speak, with your teaching. You have to follow rules with what you can teach the children. And I think that's the problem in itself because, you'll know this now. There's so many different types of personalities and different ways of learning with children, and the school systems can't cater to that because usually there's too many kids in the class, and some of them, need a lot more help than others. I think,
or have different interests, different ways of independence.
And, the school system does work for a certain type of student, and they can do really, really well. Like, my husband's really intelligent and did really well at school, and he loved it. But for me, who's more, I don't know, I guess, and I'm not an artist, I don't mean this kind of creative, but I would have responded more to a more creative way of learning. So sitting in a class and hearing stuff verbally wasn't good for me to learn that way, and I think it's happening for so many children. But they're just becoming lost in the system, they're becoming very bored, and they just switch off.
Or they're being diagnosed as ADD and then being educated. It's terrible. It's a terrible cycle.
Yeah, it is so bad. So it's just, again, when you look back at the history of the way the school system was created, I'm pretty sure it was started by the Rockefellers as well.
Yeah. Oh, surprise. Big surprise.
It makes so much sense. The way the school system is, it's been developed to kind of turn us into robots.
Yeah.
So that we go out and do the menial kind of jobs that's to kind of support all these really filthy rich people.
Slavery, basically, is turning us into slaves.
Yeah.
Even if you go to an Ivy League school, if you're kind of locked in that same train of thought, basically you're not taught to critically think and think for yourself. Have you heard of the trivium?
The what? Sorry.
The trivium.
No, she did a book.
I'll send it to you. It's I guess it's a method to teach people to critically think, and supposedly, like, it was used in Greek times, in Roman times, maybe even before that. But basically, it teaches you, like, grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And, you know, I will send it to you because we don't have time to go into it. But I'll send it to you. I'll send you the website. And I've been really turned on to that for myself because the way the school system is as it stands, I know I can't implement it, you know, at my job. But, yeah, I think you might find that interesting, especially since you have a daughter. Yeah. It basically teaches you to learn how to teach yourself things.
Cool. That sounds fabulous.
Yeah.
Really good. Well, I was going to say, the problem with, you know, the school system as a whole is, I don't know, I don't think children are being taught to dream about what they really want to make happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, I think that's really lacking in inspiring kids to create the world that you want, because I never really heard that growing up, and because I was so unhappy and so sick, my thoughts were very, very negative. It was completely matching the way that I felt on the inside. So my future to me was very depressing, and I never thought I could do anything that would help anyone. You know, I literally just thought my life was going to be a complete waste of time because no one was teaching me that, you know, life is what you make it, but to a certain degree. And, you know, dream big because big dreams can come true.
Wow.
As cheesy as that sounds.
That's very true, and it's a great way to wrap up the show because we're out of time. Fortunately, you can probably couch, so.
I'm really good at rambling on. But thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. And I think my book's going to be out in August, but it might be out in May for pre-order or something. But maybe when it's out, we could have another chat again because, yeah, there's heaps of other stuff in there too.
Oh, absolutely. And tell us again, Anna, where's your website? How can people keep up with what you're doing and buy your book when it's ready?
Thank you. Well, the website is www.missecoglam.com. So MISSECOGLAM.com.
Well, that is a great website, by the way, everybody. I really like your website, and you are just chock full of knowledge, and your book is going to be really great when it comes out. I'm very excited, and we'd love to have you back.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honour to be on your show too. And I've got to say, you know, and you said some lovely things about me, April, but, you know, I think you're an incredible mum. It kind of brings tears to my eyes actually thinking about what you have to go through.
Oh, goodness. All right, well, on that note, before I start crying, we're going to take a short break. Say goodbye to our good friend Anna and hopefully have her back. But Virstyne and I are going to take a short break, and when we get back, we'll wrap up the show. But thanks again, Anna, and it was a pleasure, and so glad to finally talk to you.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Hello, thanks for having me on your radio. Even though we're not from a famous rock and roll band, if we were, even though we sound a little like we are, we definitely wear a Conspiracy Realist t-shirt, because they're gear, aren't they? Oh yeah, they're really gear. I want to write a song about them. Conspiracy Realist t-shirt at truthandtees.com. I gotta think of a middle A. Shop.truthandtees.com. What does that mean? It's the internet, lad. I don't know. It's a net. It's between things. Shop.truthandtees.com. What's that? So you get Conspiracy Realist t-shirt. Oh, yeah.
Hi, my name's Savannah Alalea, and I'm here today with Anna Rogers, also known as Miss Eco Glam. Hi Anna, how are you doing?
Hello, how are you?
Really good, thanks. How are you?
Good, really well, thank you.
Awesome. I'm really excited about today's topic. I think it's fascinating and really important to our society. So today we're going to be talking about how to ensure health in your unborn child.
Cool, I'm excited about this too because it's so important that parents are aware of how they can avoid as many health-related problems as possible for their kids.
Absolutely. So let's start off by asking, why is it so important to have as fewer toxins as possible in your womb?
Well, basically, when a child is starting to develop in the womb, they can actually absorb 30% of the chemical content that is in the mother's womb. And because of all the toxins in our environment today, 30% is actually a hell of a lot. And because there are so many, because they're so toxic to the developing embryo, it can actually cause a variety of problems. And 1 in 4 pregnancies will end in miscarriage, which is quite a lot. You know, no wonder women are nervous when they do fall pregnant, because they do hear of so many women being pregnant and then losing the child for seemingly unknown reasons. But now we know there are a lot of reasons why. When you think about it, the womb should be a safe, pure environment so that the fetus feels safe and able to develop healthily and normally. But if there's a whole bunch of chemicals swimming around in there, then think about it logically. Is a new life going to want to stick around, or is it even going to be able to? The answer is probably not. So that's why, you know, today's talk is very important, because people need to realise if they want to have a child and they want to have one as healthy as possible, then you need to make sure you look at your own health and remove as much toxins as possible.
Sounds good and very sensible. So Anna, what are the most concerning toxins that mothers need to think about?
The main group that I've discovered are things like mercury, lead and arsenic, and also toxins from medications, so pharmaceutical things. And also when you are a party person, you have to be very careful of smoking and things like cocaine and, you know, ecstasy use. But with all the studies that have been done, still today alcohol is the most toxic to an unborn baby. I mean, when I was pregnant, I was reading the things that you should avoid and things that are safe to have. And everything I read was you still can have a bit of alcohol. I can't remember what the guidelines were, but I'm pretty sure it was like you can have a couple of drinks a week. Now, to read these studies that have actually said alcohol is one of the worst toxins to an unborn baby, and then to be told by the NHS, oh, it's okay to have a couple of drinks a week, it's madness. It does not make sense. So really, if you want your child to be as healthy as possible, and let's face it, that is a parent's responsibility, no alcohol at all. I feel terrible because I had a couple of sips of beer because I was craving beer for some reason. Towards the end of my pregnancy, I had a couple of swigs from my husband's beer bottle. I feel terrible. Luckily, Lola's fine, but I can't imagine if I'd have thought, okay, well, I'll have a couple of beers a week or a couple of wines a week because I've read something and I've been told that that's fine. But yeah, the information that's out there, and as I said, there are extensive studies by Harvard University, it's all showing that alcohol is incredibly toxic to your child. So parents out there, mums, got to avoid it.
Great to know, Anna, thank you. So can you tell us what are the most common toxins then in these sorts of situations?
Well, unfortunately, we are exposed to about 70,000 known chemicals in the environment today, but only a couple of hundred are really being tested for the effects on health. And with those tests, it's not the effects on the entire system. It's only, say, on brain health or hormonal problems. So we really don't know exactly the long-term effects of chemicals. But the ones we do know are typical things like lead, mercury and arsenic that are in the atmosphere, in certain foods, in certain products that we use in our homes. They're in such a huge amount in the world that they are the ones mostly showing up in our bodies. And there's also things like organophosphates, which are types of pesticides that are used, and they're all around us as well. Even if you don't eat foods with pesticides on it, you're still going to be absorbing them because they're in the air that we breathe. And then also we have the more common toxins such as cigarettes, recreational drugs, medication and alcohol as well. So there's a heck of a lot that, you know, are bombarding us every day and have been doing so since we were in the womb as well. And that's the problem. We've only just become aware of how important it is to have a safe environment for a growing baby. But because we didn't know that until recently, you know, take myself for example, I would have absorbed things from my mum and she would have absorbed things from her mum. So as the generations go by, the more serious the chemicals add up into the body, which when you look at the state of the health of people generally today, it makes sense. You know, something is happening to people, and logically you have to look at, well, what's changed in the last sort of 50, 60 years? And because of the Industrial Revolution, it's chemicals, and there's so many of them. So that's the answer to why most people are getting very ill.
Thanks, Anna. That's really interesting. So what exactly happens to children exposed to these types of toxins in the womb?
Well, depending on what toxins are in there, and let's face it, it's not just 1 or 2 or 3, it's hundreds. You know, when they've done studies on cord blood in children that have been born, again, they don't test for every single chemical on earth. They may only test for, say, 280. And lots of children are showing up between 200 and 276 different chemicals in their umbilical cord, which have gotten in there through the mum. So that's how they're absorbing it. But what it will do to them later in life, or even fairly quickly, if they do make it to full term, they are born, they can develop neurological problems, hormonal problems later on in life. And again, you know, you could be 35, wanting to fall pregnant, you have so much trouble, you don't know why, and it can really be diagnosed back to being in the womb. So you've had 35 years of toxins in your body, working against your body, I should say, that affect certain parts of development, which is scary, because if you knew how to avoid these, or if your mother knew how to avoid these, then you're not going to have these problems. And I personally know many girls my age who are having severe problems with falling pregnant. They're using IVF or not even being able to have that successfully. You know, and it's never really happened in history before.
It's very true, very, very true. So what can expecting or planning to get pregnant mums do to avoid this sort of thing happening?
Okay, there's quite a lot that you can do. You can change your diet, so you need to minimise having pesticides on your food. You don't want to eat any processed foods, stay away from aspartame, stay away from MSG. You can change your makeup products to organic and natural based ones. Same with your cleaning products at home. They're another way of absorbing a lot of toxic chemicals. Also, in the home, you can absorb lead through the paint on the walls. So you can put lots of plants in your house to suck up all the toxins in the air. But I personally think one of the quickest and easiest things to do is take pure body zeolites, because they will actually work very quickly in the body. It's completely safe. It's so safe that I'm actually giving them to my daughter, Lola, who's 6 months. I've been giving them to her for the last month. She's very calm, very happy. So because I've had such extensive experience with zeolites myself and read all of the studies, I want to share with as many people as possible. But there is a very quick and easy way of removing most of these toxic chemicals in the body.
Awesome. That sounds really great advice. Thanks, Anna. So can you tell us how exactly does the Pure Body work, and is it safe?
It's definitely 100% safe. Even the FDA have regulated it as safe. Basically, it's a liquid that you take, and in that liquid is trillions of tiny little zeolite particles. And a zeolite is a type of crystal, and this one in particular is called clinotoctolite, that works in a way like a magnet. The crystal actually has a negative charge and will attract toxins to it, which are a positive charge. So it kind of goes like Pac-Man in the body and attracts things to it, and then it sort of swallows it and eats it away, and then you'll excrete it through sweat and urine, and also through the colon will also get rid of toxins as well. And Pure Body in particular is the tiniest zeolite on the market, so it will actually absorb deeper than any of the others. The surface area of this zeolite in the Pure Body is the equivalent to 7,000 square feet.
Wow.
Which is insane, is huge. And that's per bottle. So just trying one bottle is pretty impressive with what it does to the body. The reason why I'm raving about it so much is because it had a huge effect on my own health. I absorbed quite a lot of lead when I was young. When I was about 7, I painted house paint all over my body, and it was on there probably for a good hour before I took it off. The skin absorbs things in such an extensive way that there's no way that that did not affect my body. And not long after that, I became very accident prone and broke a lot of bones. By the time I was, I think, 24, I'd broken 4 bones and dislocated my right elbow, and lead directly affects the bone density because of the way it interacts with red blood cells. But why I know the zeolite works is because I was so sick. I used this extensively over the last few years, and I've just given birth 6 months ago to a really, really healthy child that, you know, anyone who meets just comments on how calm she is and how alert she is and how healthy she is. And I have no doubt that if I hadn't have gone through this process of cleaning my body, that she may not have even been carried to full term, or she perhaps could have been one of the hundreds of thousands of children that go on later in life to have neurological problem that, you know, could be classified as ADHD, or goes on in life to develop a serious form of depression.
She's a very lucky girl, that's all I can say, Anna.
I'd say it's very easy, knowing what we do know about zeolite, to avoid as many health problems as possible. Sure, it's not going to be the only thing you could do for your children. You've got to make sure you feed them well. But in terms of preparing to have healthy children, this stuff is a necessity because there's nothing else quite like it. You know, you can use things like spirulina and chlorella in your diet as well. They can be quite effective, but nothing compared to the powerful effects of zeolite.
Thanks very much, Anna. How does somebody get hold of the Pure Body?
Well, we're going to leave the details underneath the video, so the link will be underneath there. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to contact me and we'll get back to you with whatever you need to know.
Great. Thanks very much, Anna. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, thanks for having me on your radio. Even though we're not from a famous rock and roll band, if we were, even though we sound a little like we are, we'd definitely wear a Conspiracy Realist t-shirt, because they're gear, aren't they? Oh yeah, they're really gear. I want to write a song about them. Conspiracy Realist t-shirts at truthertees.com. I gotta think of the middle 8. Shop.truthertees.com. What does that mean? It's the internet. What's that? I don't know. It's a net. It's between things. Shop.truthertees.com. What's that? It's where you get Conspiracy Realist t-shirts. Oh, yeah.
Hi, welcome back to Truther Talk. Please visit our website, truthertees.com, our store, shop.truthertees.com. Hey, Virstyne, we just interviewed Anna.
Yeah, I know. You know, I wanted to talk more, but I feel like that was a lot of our guests. Most of our guests, I'm like, I want to talk more. I always feel bad when we have to cut stuff off.
I know. Isn't she lovely?
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she's a lovely person.
Yeah, I love how her husband stuck by her even though she said she smelled bad. That was so cute.
That was a love story. That's sweet. Yeah. She's a cute, she's a doll, and I think she's such a nice person, and I've wanted to have her on the show, and as I mentioned in the intro, I met her, you know, on Facebook or something like that. She contacted me after she wrote a review on Liam's book, and then I made a comment, and she responded to me, and she's just so sweet, and she's always been, just gracious, and, she talks about, she used one of my essays in her book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't mention that, but she wrote a chapter on vaccines, which we didn't get a chance to ask her about because we were trying to cover all the bases, and we talk a lot about vaccines, so we, I think she just kind of grazed by it a little bit because her book is so chock full of information. I mean, she really talks about all the toxins. She covers a lot of things. I mean, if there's toxins that she doesn't cover, then I'm scared. She really gets into all of it. And so she did a chapter on vaccines, and she used a couple of excerpts of people's personal experience, and she used one of my essays for that. So she's a nice lady, and she's a lovely person, and I really hope that people read her book and stuff. I really do. I find it useful. I'm finding it helpful just reading about it and everything, and the things that I'm learning about detoxing and all that, the zeolite and everything.
Yeah, that's something I want to research too because it seems like it might be helpful for asthma.
Yes.
We talked about amalgams, I know, and that's something, right now I probably don't have the money to get it done, but eventually I have amalgam fillings that I would like to get removed too because I just can't be good, No,
I want to get those removed as well because I have just one actually. I feel that, just every little bit helps.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so there's a holistic dentist in the area, and I know it's expensive, so that's one of the things it's tough.
I know. Why does it have to be so expensive? Why does healing have to be so expensive? Especially alternatively, because technically it's cheaper, and to prevent a lot of illnesses is actually cheaper than trying to get rid of the illness itself. It's very frustrating,
It is. I know. It's frustrating, and that's why I guess we have people to look into alternative health because, it shouldn't be considered alternative because it's either good health or it's not. And so good health means just eating right and doing the right things and exercising, doing yoga and all these kinds of things that we talk about. Because, but we have to recover from health. I have a cold. Those kinds of things happen, though. You can't avoid every type of sickness and every kind of ailment in the world, just by eating healthy. All of a sudden it's like, oh, now I'm never going to get sick. But let me tell you, that flu vaccine isn't going to help you either. In fact, it will probably make things worse. So
That's so funny. She said that she got the flu vaccine and she had one of the worst flus that she ever had. And I remember one of the first shows that we did, we talked about the flu shot.
Yep.
And I remember that. I was like, how come I always get sick when I get the flu shot? I just got the flu shot and I just got the flu.
Right.
Like, how does that work? Yeah. And I remember going to the doctors and they're like, oh, well, you don't really have the flu. I was like, fuck you. I'm like, I have a 102 temperature. I'm like snot's coming out of every orifice.
Yeah.
I can't breathe. Like, what do you mean I really don't have the flu? That's bullshit. So at that point, I remember one of the last times I had the flu shot, even before I kind of woke up and started getting into alternative medicine and healing. I was just one of, and my family, because I was really sick when I was a child, so my aunts and my mom and my dad were like, did you get your flu shot this semester? This season? Because also they would market it toward people that are asthmatic, old people, people with compromised immune system. So my family was always worried that if I didn't get my flu shot, I was going to have an asthma attack that could potentially kill me.
Right.
Which now it's probably, now I know it's not worth it to get the flu shot.
No, and it doesn't work too, folks. It's like they don't even know what they're doing. That was Marcella Parker-Terry. I remember we talked to her, and she was telling us about that, because they don't even know. She's saying, like, they, the year before, they have a flu strand for which they base the next year's flu vaccine on, but they really don't know, because by the next year, most people that flu have already run through it, or you're immune to it. And so by the next year, it's like it's going to be a different strand that people are getting sick from. So it's stupid. It's completely illogical. But, and if you think about it, like how you're saying, hey, you have asthma, and they tell you that you need to get the flu shot because you have asthma.
Yeah.
But you're actually the most vulnerable to having a reaction to the flu.
And I would always get really sick. Now I know why.
Right.
Now I know why. I'm like, I'm dying. No, you don't really have the flu. That's to save you from when you really get the flu. It just pissed me off.
Right. They say that you're sick, but that's not the flu. Like, and then she was also saying how that was that whole scam because she goes, well, yeah, if you vomit, the minute that you show any kind of symptom that is contrary to what they consider to be flu symptomatic, they say it's something else. But if you're sick, then what difference does it make?
It's like, it's like shot and you're bleeding. You really didn't get shot. Like, it's like, no, anyway.
That's not from that type of gun. We can't prove that type of bullet caused you to bleed in that way. It's like, shut up. I'm over it. Because you just stuck me with mercury and foreign DNA and things that's probably not protecting me from anything. And so the flu shots are a joke. I actually have never had a flu shot, but I will say that I had a really, really bad sickness one time after a dosage of antibiotics. I had these swollen lymph nodes one time, and they wouldn't go away. They were just really persistent. And so I went to the doctor. I was just going for a normal checkup, and I pointed him out. And she said, if they don't go away in a week or two, call me, and I'll give you antibiotics. So I did.
But antibiotics, they don't kill viruses.
Well, no, this wasn't for a swollen lymph node. I don't know what.
Okay.
So I had a swollen lymph node. So anyway, she gave me the antibiotics, and then I'm telling you, my lymph nodes went away. But a week later, I got the worst cold I've ever had. I was so sick. I thought I had. I mean, I didn't go to the doctor for it because I was like, screw that. All they're going to do is give me antibiotics, which makes me worse. But I'm not even sure if it wasn't pneumonia. Like, I had it in my lungs. I was just, or it felt like it was in my lungs. So it was really, really bad. So these things, I don't know. They're not, what I liken it to, I guess, is because I think that life has intelligence. And so the natural things have intelligence. They understand, like, if you use a cranberry juice in for example, to kill a urinary tract infection, it knows the difference between to kill the infection part without destroying your beneficial bacteria.
Yeah.
Because
very good point.
Yeah, because life has intelligence. So the cranberry is intelligent, whereas the antibiotic is a synthetic version of what the cranberry is, because it tries to do it faster and get it out of there. And I'm not saying that they don't work, because I've had antibiotics that I've taken before that actually work, but then the side effect is that it kills all your beneficial bacteria. So then, so it doesn't have that innate intelligence that real life, life would have.
Exactly. Don't tell that to Skepta chick. She'll laugh at you. I don't think she would agree with you, but I do.
Oh, of course, Skepta bitch. It's funny about people that call themselves skeptics. I think it's hilarious when people call themselves skeptics, because they're actually the ones that are buying into everything the pharmaceutical company tells them.
That's why.
So it's like you're not the skeptic. You're the one who rolls over on command. You're the one George Carlin was talking about that will believe anything you're told.
Okay.
And so
when you talk about cranberries have intelligence, I remember it just my mind flashed to a video that she did, and I've only seen a couple of videos of hers, and I was over it. But she did a video on water, and she's like, people believe that water has memory, and I was like, it does. Bitch, you need to do the research.
Yeah, totally.
Get a book. I don't know. Get an electronic book. Get a PDF. Whatever. Just get something. Get it. Read it. Absorb it. That's it.
No, yeah, she was trying to debunk homeopathy, I think, because water doesn't have memory, but it does have memory. Water has intelligence. It has memory. Every life force has energy, has a frequency, is electrical.
Obviously, she didn't hear of a Masaru Emoto. That's the one off the top of my head, but I know that there have been other studies on the people that have been specifically done research on water.
Yeah.
Having memory.
Right.
And the amazing things about water. We need to do a show on water, and I'm trying to plan that.
Yeah. No, water is great. I mean, there's many angles we could take on the whole water issue, because obviously there's the whole bottled water scam. There's, the drilling for water, which is the dams, which are causing problems because they're impacting the natural flow of water.
Yeah. Go on.
Fracking. I mean, we continue to go on.
Well, that's also that is going on too. But I think I want to do a show because there have been so many documentaries on those things too. I want to do a show specifically on the benefits of water, how it relates to our body, our ecosystem. Yeah, and like ionized water, distilled water, like the benefits basically of water.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's a good point because definitely I think we don't know or it's underestimated. It seems like when Anna was talking about how we've been basically conditioned to think that the sun is bad for us. And it's like that. It's like we're actually conditioned to think that these things that are natural aren't like that. They're not that. Not that they aren't good for us. I've never heard anyone say you shouldn't drink water, but I mean, they're kind of like they downplay its importance.
Well, yeah, they say Gatorade's better than water. But Gatorade, of course. I mean, maybe if you need electrolytes or something, that you would just want to get ionized water or eat more potassium or eat like better salt. Like Himalayan salt. Like I understand that you lose those things when you exercise and you're an athlete, but also like Gatorade. How many? There's chemicals in Gatorade. Like that's not,
and it's loaded with sugar and it's loaded with those dyes or whatever they.
Yeah, like blue water, like blue water, not clear water. Like
right. I don't
water. It's like red liquid. Like ugh.
Yeah, I almost think originally the guy who invented Gatorade was actually doing that. I think that's something that once it became a marketable thing, and then they started to go down that road, then it started to become, they started making it into like blue and cherry colors and all these kinds of crazy.
Yeah, I heard that they start doing it. I don't know for sure, but I heard that they start doing that because it tastes gross. And then they, basically, like you said, they want to market it better for taste and for the appearance of it. So.
Right, and it gives it, once you have that color, it's like it becomes more appealing to certain demographic people like that. But I find that to be like grody. I saw these commercials for this stuff called Mio, and they take these little. Have you seen these?
Yeah.
They're like little plastic bottles, and you put it in your water, and it's supposed to give your water color, like blue or red.
Awful.
It's like it looks like, I don't know, Kool-Aid for adults, I guess. They put it in, and I've seen people have this in offices and things. They're carrying.
You know what? I have seen those. I just didn't know the name of it. I was just like gross.
Why?
I just call it gross.
I'm like, are you serious? Why do you want to color your water? It's fine the way it is.
It doesn't turn your mouth colors. I hate stuff that like turns my mouth colors too. Like like the kids will come in from recess and I'll just be talking to them and their lips are like blue or green. I'm like, you look, I love you, but you look gross. It's just nasty.
Sometimes natural stuff does that to you too. That like pomegranate seeds,
Okay, the blue stuff particularly. I guess strawberries and stuff isn't that bad, but like.
Right.
You're right. But I'm thinking with like stuff that like, because do blueberries turn your.
They can. It just depends. I mean, I guess I've seen it happen to my kids and stuff. But
okay, well, I guess I might have to take that statement back. But.
Well, no, I mean, little kids eat funny. Like they eat winky.
Like the hot Cheetos and stuff that gets on their hands, like that red, peppery. But it's not like real pepper. It's like artificial, some chemical stuff that they use, and the kids are like their faces, just gross.
Yeah, no, it's true. This artificial colors, it's so unnecessary too, because if you actually look at the color scheme of natural foods, they're so pretty. I mean, it's such a beautiful, like, I swear to God, sometimes when I'm shopping and I have my stuff on the belt, I want to, like, take a picture of it, just because it's like, I see the dark green kale, and I see the red, strawberries, and I see, like, the coconut and everything. It looks so pretty, the color schemes and everything. I just think, that's great the way it is. Why would you want to then, like, add, what is it, blue 17 or whatever?
Red number 5 and like yellow number 7. Like
it's
weird.
I don't know.
It's interesting, especially when I start getting into raw food cooking and stuff, and you notice and you see some of the plates that they make are so beautiful. It's like almost a work of art.
Yeah.
You know?
It really is. I mean, we have, I like this lady, she runs a blog called Gluten-Free Happy Tummy, and she's vegetarian, and she does mostly vegetarian foods, and everything's gluten-free, and it's generally compliant with the body ecology diet, the specific carbohydrate diet. I don't know how she does it, because it's actually very limited in a lot of ways, but she manages to make these really pleasing to the eye at culinary, you know, and I make these at home, and they're very simple, and it's just kind of a good way to get kids to eat vegetables and things like that, because when you make them pretty,
it's presentable, yeah. No.
You do things like, you know, red peppers, you know, and mix that with like green spinach. You know, you mix these things together, and you kind of get a pop of green, a pop of red, and it just kind of helps with that. So I see why color is appealing, but when it's an unnatural color, it just looks kind of weird to me. I mean, I don't know. I've seen some masks, like people make designs for cakes and things like that look just amazing, and they look like works of art. And I know they use a lot of bad, funky chemicals, but they're nice to look at. I think really good to eat. But so I'm not knocking it entirely. Like, I understand why people like that, but you can make your own food coloring. I've done that before, but they're not quite as bright and vibrant as the other food colorings. Like, you can use turmeric to make a yellow.
But do you taste the turmeric?
No. You just use a little. A little bit goes a long way. You put it in water.
You can probably use saffron, too.
Yeah. You can use saffron.
To yellow and...
Yep. Yeah. And then you can use strawberries to make red. You can use all kinds of things to make red. I don't find that red's really hard, though. You can use pomegranate and all kinds of things. But, I don't know, just something I do every now and again for the kids, like for their candies and that I make at home. But yeah, but that Mio stuff is just like weird. I don't get it. But that's another toxic element. I don't get it. Why would you color water? Water is beautiful. It's clear. It's crisp. It's food.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm really thirsty. On that note, I think we're going to close up the show. I think we're out of time here, but we want to thank Anna Victoria Rogers again for being on our show. Please check out her website, missecoglam.com, and she's going to have a book available, I think she said possibly in May, and so we'll definitely try and get her back in if we can once her book is out. Yeah, it's a really good book. I'm reading it right now, and I'm enjoying it. I highly recommend it. So you can find us at truthertease.com or thorshop.truthertease.com. Just about this on Kindle official stories. So a lot going on, a lot we wanted to share, and yeah.
All right. See you then.
So we'll see you guys later, and thanks again to Anna, as always, with peace, truth, and love.
Peace, truth, and love, guys. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name's Savannah Alalier, and I'm here today with Anna Rogers, also known as Miss Eco Glam, and I'm going to interview her today about something called Pure Body. So, Anna, hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you today?
Pretty good, thank you. I must say I feel pretty good every day lately.
Wow, okay. Well, what I'd like to do is just ask you a few questions. So maybe you can give us a bit of backstory or overview of who you are and how you've got where you are.
I guess to begin with, I had terrible health for 20 years really. I had severe depression and chronic fatigue that was very debilitating and basically made my life a living hell for a long time, and also the people that had to be close to me also copped a living hell. Being so ill made me a very angry and an unhappy person. So I was incredibly moody and just severely depressed. Trying to understand why I'd been so sick, knowing that people generally aren't born that way, just set me on a journey of trying to undo the damage, but also learning what it was that had caused all of this. Now I know it was because of a lot of toxins that were in my body.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your health problems were?
Well, for a long time it was a sickness and a feeling that I didn't quite
understand. I could list, a big page this long of symptoms that I had, ranging from constantly feeling ill in the stomach, headaches, lack of concentration, brain fog. My mood swings were just quite erratic. I look back at some of the things I used to do and I cringed thinking, oh my God, that was me. I really was an absolute nutcase. But yeah, my life was just not stable at all. It wasn't stable professionally. I couldn't hold down a job. I couldn't concentrate. It was very difficult for me to study during school. Constantly tired. Yeah, they're the main ones, but there were a lot of, little things like physically, I never really looked healthy. My eyes were always quite yellow.
So we're here talking today with Anna Rogers, Miss EcoGlam. And Anna, you've been telling us a little bit about your story and the challenges that you've experienced with your health in the past. Can you tell me a little bit about what your turning point was and what helped to really take you forward with your return journey to health now?
The first thing was I visited a doctor who treats the Russian astronauts with what they call mitochondrial medicine, which is actually all natural ingredients. But the second thing that I tried, which really was a huge energy boost and a big change, so dramatic, was a zeolite product. And that was quite miraculous, actually, because within 2 weeks I had a whole list of things that I'd suffered with for years that was just gone.
Wow. So basically, can you tell us a little bit about the positive effects that the zeolite product had on you?
Quite a few, actually. My eyes improved within that 2 week period. They went from being quite yellow and murky to white. But it was a huge difference for me to see that whiteness and almost like a sparkle coming back. And I never had healthy looking eyes, even from a young age. They did not look very good. My heavy leg syndrome that I had, which was whenever I walked upstairs or walked up a hill, I felt like my legs weighed an absolute ton. That disappeared. The brain fog that I used to have every single day lifted. I was able to think quicker. My memory was better. I noticed little bumps on my arm that I used to have, which I think is a sign of a blocked liver. That disappeared as well. And then, my husband was the one that said, I know these zeolites work because Anna doesn't smell anymore. That's when I was like, what?
Wow.
And discovered that I had that BO problem. It made sense to me why I did smell, because if my body was toxic, which I know it was because my illness had broken my systems down that much that my liver was not processing what I was absorbing every day. So it meant that there were things stored in me that should have come out through my sweat glands and through the normal processes, but they weren't. So had no choice but to have a bit of a bad smell.
Great stuff. So Anna, I know a lot of your illness led you to research a lot into chemicals and toxins in our general environment. Do you have any comments, or can you share any information with us about what you've discovered?
Well, basically it's quite alarming just how many chemicals there are everywhere, and it's not just what we breathe in. It's obviously stuff that's added to food or sprayed onto food throughout the growing process. Beauty care products, even through our clothes. That's one thing that really shocked me, was anything that's made with an unnatural dye or with a man-made fabric such as polyester. When it's on our skin, we absorb toxins through there as well. But obviously the main ones are what we breathe in every day, things like lead, because of all the petrol in the atmosphere. It's completely shocking. Once you look into a certain part of the environment in terms of toxins, it leads you to another area, and it's quite scary, actually, knowing just how much we face every day. And unfortunately, even if you don't have an unhealthy lifestyle and you think you eat well and you make certain changes with your cosmetics, you still are absorbing things. Even I, who, people see me as probably a really clean person, I know as soon as I start taking Pure Body again, I notice a huge difference, because in that time of me not taking something that's a detoxifier, I'm building up things every day. And this is a thing that people don't realise. There's, I think, about 70,000 chemicals that scientists are aware of.
That's a lot.
It's a scary, scary number. And, you know, when we say the word toxin or chemical, we really need to scrap both of those words and replace it with poison, because that's what they are. And, you know, I think, in a way, those names sugarcoat exactly what they're doing to us. The majority of them, and I'm talking, you know, more than 50% of that 70,000 have never been tested for safety. We're all just living as human guinea pigs waiting to see exactly the damage that all of these chemicals are going to cause us. I really think most of us already know, and that is, you know, disease and early death. And it should not be that way.
And is there anywhere where people can get more information about the chemicals or toxins that they may be facing?
There's a website that's really good called the Environmental Working Group, www.ewg.org, and that has official sort of studies and articles and government bills that are being put through.
What would you recommend that people do to help them overcome these issues, in your opinion?
For years, I didn't think there was anything we could do. I'd learnt about juice fasts and water fasts and changing your diet, but I was also aware that some of these toxins are so dangerous, they settle in the brain and certain organs. And, you know, I kind of looked at it logically and thought, well, how would doing a juice fast suck out these things like lead and mercury in that part of the body? I kind of just thought it wouldn't be enough to make you healthy or to stop you from having a much higher risk of getting a disease or cancer. Then I discovered chelation therapy would clean people out, but it would strip all of the valuable nutrients. So people would have problems with their bone density, and you'd have to kind of add in more nutrients to make sure that you weren't making the body suffer in other areas. And then a friend of mine on Facebook started talking about this zeolite product. And she said, Anna, you've got to try it. I know it's going to make you feel better. It worked for me. It's a miracle. And I'd heard of miracle products before, and they hadn't given me a miracle. So that word to me was a big turn-off. She literally told me for 2 years to try this product. And then one day I thought, oh, gosh, I just should, you know, see what she's talking about. So I tried some, and I was blown away. And the product is Pure Body Zeolite. And zeolite is a name of a volcanic ash supplement, so to speak, but Pure Body is the brand. And there are other zeolite products on the market, but unfortunately they haven't had the same very strict process. And from what I've discovered, a lot of the zeolites that are around are actually quite toxic when you take them, because they have not had the impurities removed themselves.
Okay, so
people have to be aware that that not all zeolites are created equal, so to speak. But the Pure Body that I have been taking is absolutely incredible, and it's inexpensive. So that's why I want to tell everyone about it, because everyone needs it. And with this inexpensive price tag, it means that most of us can afford to have it, not just now and again, but fairly regularly.
So, Anna, can you tell us a little bit about what zeolites are and how they work?
Well, how a zeolite works is pretty miraculous. Actually, underneath a microscope, looks like a cage or a bit of honeycomb, and it's super, super tiny. And the zeolite has a negative charge, and toxins that are in the body, in a beautiful way to describe it, have a positive charge. So, and as you know, positive and negative will attract each other like a magnet, and it will basically trap it in that cage, and then it will get out of your body through sweat and urine. And the Pure Body zeolite is so small that it will actually get into your bloodstream, which means it will also get into your brain as well, because obviously blood pumps through your brain, and it will get into your organs, such as your liver and basically anywhere there's toxins, and then it will be excreted through sweat and urine.
Gosh, that's simple.
it's absolutely incredible.
What I love about zeolite is knowing how old it is and that it's been here for millions of years, because it comes from volcanic rock.
When the sea will hit the volcano, such it's been here since the beginning of time, and to know that, you know, this miraculous product that really makes us so much healthier, it gives me chills knowing that it's been right there underneath our noses for such a long